So in this segment, we look at the 2022 biology, question paper, but I'm focusing on the genetics question, that is question number 5. It says define each of the following terms. It says we define what a gene. Now, a gene is simply, we can simply say, is a segment. So is a segment, or if you want, you can simply say is a portion of a DNA controlling a particular characteristic. Yeah, for example, there are some genes that are able to control your eye color. Those are what we call gene for eye color. Genes that are able to control your, let me say, the color of your skin, the color of your hair. Those may actually be the genes that are able to control your blood and so on and so forth. So you can talk about a lot. So it's a portion or a segment of a DNA, but controlling a particular characteristic in your body. What about when it comes to genotype? Genotype is simply the genetic composition of an organism for a particular trait. That's what we can say. Or if you want, genotype simply entails what we call as being the genetic composition of an organism for a particular trait or characteristic. So we can say genotype is the genetic, so the genetic composition, of an organism for a particular trait or characteristic. So you can use the word trait or characteristic, there's no problem. Then B says, in a family of rats, the recessive allele D causes stunted growth if it occurs in a homozygous animal. So homozygous means if they are the same. So meaning if you have D and D, it simply means that it will cause stunted growth. Use a genetic diagram to predict the offspring produced if two heterozygous rats were mated. Now, hetero means different, meaning if we are using small letter d for a recessive allele that causes stunted growth, then it simply means I'll use a capital letter D to represent normal growth. Now, since they said two heterozygous, it simply means two different alleles, one dominant and one recessive. That's what you need to remember. So this is the type, what they mean when they say heterozygous. So we start again with the first parental generation. So what is the phenotype in this case? So the phenotype, because they were heterozygous, it simply means that they actually had normal, because they were talking about stunted growth. Yeah, so this one we can simply say, this one could either be, let me say, a male rat, in this case crossing with, a female rat. That's what I can say. So a female rat in that case, all right? So both of them are going to be normal because they're heterozygous. So what will be the genotype that we are going to have? The genotype is capital D small d, capital D small d. Then these, when they separate during the process of meiosis, they produce gametes or sex cells. So capital D and small d, capital D and small d. You can see what has happened there. Then when they recombine, this D will go with the first one. Again, this one will go with the last one. Again, you come to this one to go with the first one. Again, this one will go with the last one. Please, when you are drawing this, pay attention. Draw it as if you are, drawing this genetic diagram for the last time, not that you want to come back and, write the exam. So the first thing we see is the genotype. So we just follow that, capital D, that will be capital D, small d. By the way, you cannot write small d, capital D. That is wrong. You always start with the dominant and the recessive. then that is going to be capital D, small d. So I can't start with small d here. The dominant always, comes or emerges up, is actually, is actually shown more as compared to the recessive allele, which is actually overshadowed. Then small d, small d. So in this case, the phenotype there will be, if you look at that, these are normal growth. All these up to here are actually normal, growth. These were just carriers of the allele that causes stunted growth. But when you look at this one, it actually had developed a stunted growth. So it had a stunted growth. No wonder they told us that causes stunted growth if it occurs in homozygous animals. So this is homozygous, two similar alleles. Now we would have also found, because the question says predict, sometimes they can ask you to find the chance. So what is the probability of having, an offspring that has got stunted growth? We could have found the probability. You ask yourself, how many have stunted growth? It's only 1 over the total number of offspring, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So over 4 multiplied by 100%. When you work that one out, I believe that is simply going to give you, 25. That will give you 25. So there's 25% that they were going to have a child with stunted growth. Let's conclude. There was a question here that said, explain one named cause of genetic variation. So genetic variation, when we talk about variation, these are differences in characteristics among organisms of the same species. And one of the major causes of that is what we call as being mutation. So what is a mutation? Mutation is a sudden, so you can say it's a sudden, spontaneous, change, in the structure. So in the structure of a gene, if you want the chemical structure of a gene, or number of chromosomes. So when your DNA, the way the bases in your DNA are arranged changes, that causes actually mutation. I know you are going to learn about bases. There are 4 nitrogenous bases called adenine. There's also guanine. There's also cytosine. There's also what we call thymine. So these are the 4 nitrogenous bases that are found that make up your DNA, and there's a specific order in which they are going to pair. For example, A pairs with T and G pairs with C, or the other way around. T can start and C can start, but this is the way. But if at all there's a change in the way these bases are arranged, and that causes mutation or genetic variation that we are able to see. Thank you so much for watching. If you love what we do, please subscribe to the channel. Watch out for some other genetics question. I'll be able to guide you on them. Thank you for watching.